Hi, everybody. Melissa and I want to share some information with you. We are told that the special education profiles are coming soon, but as of maybe a little bit ago, before this was recorded, they have not been released yet. But I think they're coming soon, and we wanted to share some information with you about how to navigate the special education profiles and indicators for the 24-25 school year. So just as a quick reminder, if you have any questions about the special education profile or ratings, you can certainly reach out to us at State Support Team 2. So the way we have divided the indicators up is that I will support all indicator 11, which is child find, disproportionality indicators, which are 4A, 4B, 9, and 10, and significant disproportionality. And I'll talk about all of those in a little more depth in a moment. Courtney Seaman, obviously, our early learning and school readiness consultant, is going to help support with indicator 12, which is the transition from part C, early intervention, to part B of IDEA. And Melissa Wagner is going to help with indicators 1 and 2, which is graduation and dropout, and indicator 13, which is post-secondary transition. All right. So kind of moving on, just, kind of a tutorial of how to access your profile. So once you log into OHID, you'll click on Special Education Profiles and Ratings, and click on Open App. And then once you get there, you will click on the 24-25 Special Education Profile. As I said, as of this recording, I don't think they've been released yet, but they should be being released very soon. So you'll click on View 24-25 Profile. And then you'll want to look over your district's data, paying attention to met and not met. And those are those green and red bars on the right-hand side. And then you'll want to click on more information to access the data associated with that indicator. Keep scrolling down till you see an action statement. If it's an indicator that you need to address, that action statement will be very robust. If it's, sometimes they'll say, just you want to review your data if it's not anything that you need to formally address. But our disclaimer is to always read the indicator manuals that are embedded within those the indicators in the special education profile. So OEC has told us that if there's any changes or updates to those manuals throughout the process, that they will be updating the manuals embedded in the profile. So you might want to refrain from downloading that manual, because it could be possible that you're looking at a manual that maybe isn't the most up-to-date version. And then also keep in mind that the process for each indicator varies a little bit, and the pathway to go through that process varies a little bit depending on the indicator. So just a quick tour of the special education profile. Sometimes you'll hear people refer to this as the SPP, which stands for State Performance Plan. And that's what Ohio Department of Education and Workforce, this is what they supply to or provide to Office for Special Education Programs at U.S. Department of Education. This is how they track the academic growth of groups of students to keep improving special education services. And Ohio organizes these indicators in 5 essential questions to help guide that continuous improvement. The first one is, are young children with disabilities entering kindergarten ready to learn? Are children with disabilities achieving at high levels? Are youth with disabilities prepared for life, work, and post-secondary education? And does the district implement IDEA to improve services and results for children with disabilities? and are children receiving equitable supports and services? So as we think about each one of those sections, the indicators are grouped, aligning with each one of those essential questions. So you can see that everything early childhood is within that first question. And then students achieving at high levels, it has to do with the alternate assessment participation in indicator 3, which is assessment participation and performance. The extent of which students with disabilities have access to the general education is all about indicator 4 with it, which is suspension, expulsion, and indicator 5, which is about LRE, school age LRE. And then the next question is about being prepared for life, work, and post-secondary. Are those indicators aligned to that are graduation rate, dropout rate, secondary transition, and post-secondary outcomes. And then the next one is, implementing IDEA to improve services and results for children with disabilities. This is indicator 8, which is a family survey, indicator 11, which is child find or initial evaluation timelines, indicator 18 that OEC uses regarding what they call general supervision. And then the last section is about receiving equitable services and supports, which is the indicators 9 and 10, disproportionality, representation, and then also significant disproportionality in identification, placement, and discipline. So the indicators highlighted on your screen right now or in boxes are what Department of Education and Workforce calls compliance indicators. And those are being released. The data for those are being released in January 2025, as we've talked about. And like I mentioned, these are what's called the compliance indicators. These are the indicators that if your district has a finding in one of these indicators, then the district needs to do something in order to satisfy that finding and that indicator. So a piece that's new this year is that the Department of Education, OEC, has added status alert information into the overall status of each measure. So prior status alerts were for equity measures, included not met, not calculated, which you'll see where it says NC, and NR means not rated. So that's what we used to see. The new status alerts for all categories of disproportionality will include at-risk year 1 and at-risk year 2. And the new status alert for indicators 4A and 4B, which is about discipline and suspension expulsion, and 9 and 10 will include at-risk for year 1. So you'll kind of keep an eye out for those. So I just wanted to take a moment and talk about the difference between systems work versus compliance. And sometimes the indicator work, the special education profile, addressing those needs, seems like compliance activities. There are deadlines and there's information that has to be provided to Office for Exceptional Children, and they have to approve the improvement plan. And then we have a deadline for all of those activities to be finished and upload documentation that those activities have taken place. But we have to shift that thinking a little bit and shift it to thinking about that indicator finding is just that. It's an indication that some part of a process or system needs to be tweaked or refined. And so instead of thinking about profile activities as a compliance task, we're going to encourage you to shift your thinking of your team. So that's an opportunity to further refine your system or practice. And so, we can shift or, on that, you can see that little GIF of that groundhog from Caddyshack, we don't want Groundhog's Day. We don't want to have, we don't want to see those same indicators being flagged every single year. So we don't want Groundhog's Day. We're going to shift that thinking from a compliance task to more systems work. So I also want you to think about the fact that I talked a minute ago that there are timelines for all of this work, but we can also think about activities that need to be ongoing for really to create that systems work. And it might take longer than September 29th, let's say, whenever that the documentation for the improvement plan needs to be submitted. And that's okay. We can have that ongoing work. It maybe won't be included in that improvement plan, but it's okay, and encourage that improvement work continues beyond that timeline. So SST2 is here to support you through this process. So if your district has indicator finding, and we'll say this again at the end, we want to schedule a time for us to work with you. But we are asking for your team to work through the indicator analysis process. Used to be called self-review summary report. The department renamed it this year, which I'm personally glad. So we want you to work through that process with your team for each indicator where there's been a finding prior to meeting with us. And we're doing this so that you can have more thoughtful conversation within your district team, and really put some thought into that root cause. And that's what that indicator analysis document is asking us to do, is to determine a root cause. And we're asking that you could please send that draft to myself and Melissa. And so we can kind of take a look at it and be prepared when we meet with you. So I kind of want to go through these indicators, the compliance indicators, and just give you an idea of really what they're about. So I mentioned before, indicator 12 is all about that early childhood transition from Part C, which we often talk about referred to as early intervention, for students who are found eligible for Part B, preschool special education. Indicator 12 measures the percentage of children referred from Part C to Part B, and also have an IEP implemented by their third birthday. And this is one of those indicators where the threshold is 100%. So if you have one student, for example, whose IEP wasn't implemented by their third birthday, you can expect an indicator finding for indicator 12. So the next piece, and you'll see that I've grouped these in order that they show up in the profile. So they're not in numerical order at all. They're in grouping order. So alternate assessment participation is another compliance indicator, and it measures the percentage of students who participate in the alternate assessment in reading and math. And then new in 2024-25 is science. And so if your district is over that 1% threshold for students participating in the alternate assessment, you might have an indicator finding. If your district's alternately assessing maybe slightly over 1% of students, the profile may say, review your data, make sure you're using the alternate assessment decision-making tool, but there might not be a finding. So there's some tiered supports within alternate assessment participation. And then kind of moving on through the profile, the next piece that is new as far as a compliance indicator is significant discipline discrepancy. And so there's two parts of indicator 4. There's indicator 4A, which measures the difference in long-term exclusionary discipline rates between students with disabilities and those without disabilities within the same school or district or community school. And indicator 4B measures whether students with disabilities of a racial or ethnic group are being disciplined at a higher rate than their peers without disabilities. And so for both indicators, fewer than 3% of districts and community schools have been included in that analysis. And you can see that what OEC is using for the fall of 2024, they engage in some stakeholder engagement activities, and they have updated how they're calculating this from 3 years of data to 2 years of data, beginning with this profile. And I'm going to turn it over to Melissa to talk about graduation and dropout.
Yes, graduation, indicator 1. This is what comes next on the profile. Indicator 1 measures the percent of students with disabilities ages 14 to 21 who exit special education due to graduating by meeting the same requirements as students without disabilities. And here's indicator 2. It's the dropout rate. One thing that is new about the dropout rate is students who exit and then re-enroll within the reporting period will not count as dropouts. That's new. And then students who exit and then re-enroll after the reporting period, of course, will not be counted or will be, counted as dropouts. So as long as they re-enroll during the reported period, they are not counted as a dropout. And that's new. Before they were counted. So we have some updated targets for indicator 1 and 2, and you could see them on this slide. Also, if you want to see Ohio's education methodology updates and target setting webpage, we have a link here that you can do some further reading.
Perfect. Do you want to talk about indicator 13 also?
Sure. Indicator 13 measures the percent of youth age 16 or older with an IEP that includes all required transition planning elements. And Jennifer, you texted me earlier today because it said 16 on here, not 14. And 16 is the federal age where they start looking at transition plans.
Perfect. Thank you. Did you want to talk about indicator 14?
Yep. I'll continue because this all kind of goes with our graduation, doesn't it?
Yep.
So indicator 14 is post-school outcome surveys. Indicator 14 measures the percent of children with disabilities who, within 1 year of leaving high school, are enrolled in higher education, participating in training programs, or they are competitively employed. All school districts and community schools serving high school students in Ohio are required to collect post-school engagement data from all students who exit the previous spring every year. So this is talking about students with disabilities, but as a school district, you have to collect it on all the students. This includes students with disabilities who are exiting by graduating, dropping out, or aging out. So all indicator 14 requirements are now fulfilled through EMIS data. It's a collection through EMIS. Exit surveys or other surveys submitted to Ohio longitudinal transition study are no longer required. Jen, do you remember doing those?
Absolutely.
I remember those too. Yeah, doing them for my district. So you don't have to do those anymore. This is all this data is coming through EMIS. So your district must submit data for exiting students with IEPs as outlined in section 2.23 of the student record as detailed in the EMIS manual, which is here. Click on it. You'd like to read more. And your EMIS coordinator and consult the new, we got it on there that you can click on it, exiting student follow-up record to fulfill this requirement.
Perfect. Thank you. And then indicator 8 measures the percentage of parents with a child receiving special education services in the state who reported that schools facilitated parent involvement as a means of improving services and results for children with disabilities. And so this indicator is measured using an online survey for parents of children with disabilities. And districts are selected to collect parent involvement surveys once every 6 years and based on the federal annual performance report requirements. And each year's cohort represents a cross-section of districts designed to provide an annual survey sample that's representative of Ohio's overall population of students with disabilities. And the department partners with Ohio State University. They collect, analyze, and use the survey results to inform family engagement efforts at all levels. And there's a link there for more information as well. And you will have these slides as well.
Mm-hmm.
So indicator 11 is about child find, and it measures the percentage of initial evaluations completed within 60 calendar days of receiving parental consent. This is another one of those indicators that requires 100% compliance. So if we think about a comparison using 22-23 school year data, shows that this would have added 119 students. So they are doing a little bit different calculation. OEC, are calculating this a little bit differently this year. So prior to the 22-23 school year, they only calculated with students that had a consent for evaluation and an initial ETR. But in the 23-24 profile and beyond, they're using students that have the consent signed with or without an initial evaluation. So they are expecting there'll be more districts with an indicator 11 finding this year. So we were happy to address that. Indicator 9 and 10 has to do with disproportionate representation. And so it measures whether students of a racial or ethnic group are being identified as a child with a disability at a higher rate than their peers of other races. So there's been a couple of changes to this through some stakeholder engagement. The preschool piece of this was removed as it was federally required. So in prior profiles, there might have been preschool data included in disproportionality, and it is no longer included in that calculation. Like you see there on your screen, it's because it's not federally required that preschool is not included. And then beginning in this year profile, the department will be looking at 2 years of data instead of 3 years of data. So, and then to move on to significant disproportionality, it looks at the areas of identification, placement, and discipline. And if your district is found to be in significant disproportionality, if you're in the profile, you'll want to click on the more information button. And then all the way to the right, there's a plus sign that's kind of highlighted in blue that will access that data for you. So you can take a look at that data to see which of those subgroups you might be significantly disproportionately identifying or placing or disciplining students. And when you look through your profile, when you access it, if you believe that one of those findings is actually a data reporting error, you'll want to follow these directions. So you're going to look at that section in the indicator manual and follow those directions for data appeal. You'll download the record for review file from that special education profile. And then those documents are submitted to the OEC profile mailbox. So you'll also need to submit your policies, practices, and procedures in regards to that specific indicator. And you'll complete the data appeal verification form. and it would need to be signed by the special education director, pupil services director, and superintendent. And then any requested student record documents outlined in that indicator manual will be uploaded to the secure document upload portal. So, I put a helpful hint there. You never want to submit any student identifiable information to the Department of Education and Workforce in any way other than the secure doc upload. So if you believe that your finding of a particular indicator is because of a data reporting error, the deadline to submit that all that information is February 7th. So when you hear back from OEC about a data appeal, if you submit and then what do I do when I hear back from OEC about a data appeal? So you're going to follow the directions in the indicator manual. If that data appeal is verified, so in other words, yes, it was a data reporting error, the community school or the district still needs to work through the indicator analysis and improvement plan process, although it's not required that SST supports you through that process. And the deadline to submit evidence of completion of all those activities outlined in the improvement plan need to be submitted to the monitoring system by September 19th. If that data appeal is not verified, again, you'll go back to the indicator manual and follow those directions. You'll still submit policies and practices and procedures by February 7th, but you'll work through the indicator analysis and the improvement plan process with SST2, and that would be required. And that process, those pieces are due to be uploaded to monitoring by April 4th. And then the deadline to submit the evidence of completion it remains September 19th. So you'll want to make sure that you refer, and I talked about this a couple different times, but make sure you refer to the indicator manuals within your special education profile, and make sure you're only accessing that information for that particular indicator finding. And just a quick overview of those timelines, just so kind of a recap. If you are submitting for a data verification appeal, that deadline is February 7th. Any indicator analysis work and improvement plan is for a non-data appeal is due April 4th. And then you can see that the deadline there to demonstrate systemic improvement is September 19th. And so we always get questions about which sections of this indicator analysis. Keep in mind that form used to be called the self-review summary report. What sections do we complete? So you will only complete section A if the district or school has a verified data appeal. Section B is completed when there's a new indicator finding. And then section C is completed if that district or community school has also had an indicator finding in that same indicator in the 23-24 profile. And so this next section is just a quick walkthrough of how to upload documents to the monitoring system. So I know I've been on Zoom calls with many of you, like working through this. So when you're ready to upload indicator analysis forms or improvement plans, you'll want to log into OHID and go to the monitoring application tile. And then, I'm sorry if this is a little blurry. So you'll click on special education program monitoring, and then you'll make sure that you have FY25 as that program period that there's being monitored, and then click search. And that should take you to another screen where on the right side of your screen, you'll see this screenshot. So you'll see some buttons that are called overview and questions, and you'll want to click on the questions tab to see those indicator requirements. And once you click on the questions tab, then you'll be able to choose which indicator you're uploading information for. So let's say if you're uploading an indicator analysis and improvement plan for indicator 1, which is graduation, you'll click on that one, and then you'll scroll down to you see where it talks about uploading an indicator analysis, and you'll click on that section, and it'll give you a screenshot of how to access those. Once you click on from here, once you click on communication, documents, then it'll take you, then you'll see this screen on your left. You can click on add documents. Then the document type is going to be special education profile. So you have to use that drop down arrow on the right to be able to come up with special education profile. And then you can drag or upload your files here. And so my suggestion is that save those documents either as PDFs or Word files. You cannot upload any Google Doc link to the monitoring system. So just a quick commercial of what's going to come into the future. In May, the rest of the indicator data will be released. These are what's called results indicators. Remember, what we're talking about today are all the compliance indicators. So these are the results indicators. So it'll give you results of your preschool educational environment, or the LRE and preschool outcomes with this, which is not step up to quality. I'm sorry, it's COSS, Child Outcome Summary. And then the assessment, participation, and performance data. So that's all of the Ohio State tests, participation, performance, and as well also is alternate assessment, the school age LRE. All that data will come out in May. So I shared this slide before. We're going to talk about it again. So once you've looked at your profile and you've realized that your district has an indicator finding, and you're not going to do the data appeal piece, we want you to schedule a time for your team to work with SST2. And we're asking for your team to work through the indicator analysis piece before meeting with us, so you can have those deeper conversations and send that draft. So you'll get this presentation, the link to these slides and this recording in an email from me today. And today is January 17th, with a link that you can schedule a time to work with us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging in here. We appreciate all that you do to move the results forward with students with disabilities within the SST2 region. So again, you'll get an email from me shortly about all this information. Thanks a bunch.
Bye.